Okay, recording video on Sunday, the 27th of November 2022. It's just gone 3:39 a.m. Chicago time. Do hope you are doing well. And if you celebrate Thanksgiving, I do hope you have had a great long Thanksgiving weekend. Apologies from me that didn't get a video out last Sunday. That is because we decided, that's Mrs. Emini-Watch and I decided to celebrate Thanksgiving last weekend. You may or may not know that Mrs. Emini-Watch is Canadian and I'm part American, and normally what we do is we celebrate Thanksgiving midway between the two celebrations, which the Canadian Thanksgiving is roughly a month earlier than the American Thanksgiving. This year we were a little bit late, so we celebrated it last weekend. I had a bunch of friends over. It turned out to be a big celebration, really fun. But could not get to a video on Sunday last weekend, so apologies for that. But anyway, we'll make up for it in this video. This week's been a little bit kind of quiet with the kind of lack of trading because of Thanksgiving, but we've still got some interesting kind of signals going on, so I'm going to roll through those. This is the weekend futures market recap, where I go through 15 of the largest futures markets and I show you what signals I'm seeing on my charts. But we're going to start off with the E-mini charts going down from the daily level all the way to the 15-minute chart. I'm going to show you the E-mini and the Dow on the daily, because we have had an advance this week that's been led by the amateurs with low average trade size and Rambo patterns, so I'm going to show you those on these charts. So over the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been pretty bullish on equities, and that's kind of played out pretty well. We've been moving off these lows. We've got above 4,000 this week, but at some point we're going to have resistance come in on the intermediate time frame. This is our classic kind of setup of the better indicators on two panels here. On the left hand side, everything to do with volume, better momentum, which is a volume-based momentum indicator below the price bars, and on the price bars themselves, better pro-am, which uses the average trade size to identify professional and amateur activity. Professionals in blue, amateurs in yellow. Right hand side, everything to do with price based on better sine wave, which is calculating the cyclical and trending activity in 3 different time frames. So we've broken into an uptrend on the daily chart. We're red bars here on the daily chart, which shows strength in an uptrend. But at some point here you can see we've got a cross kind of in due on the intermediate time frame here, where we've overshot our resistance on the lowest time frame, and we're going to come into that resistance on the intermediate time frame. If you look at the Dow has been the strongest of all the markets kind of moving forward. So again, this is a daily chart here, and we had the advance on the Dow. You can just see the progress that we've made. It's been pretty stellar, the way the Dow has kind of moved forward. And the difference between the Dow and, for example, the Nasdaq, which has been the underperformer, is Nasdaq obviously heavily tech based, and the Dow has an emphasis towards energy, and energy has done pretty well in this last kind of move up, and that's why we're above this last kind of peak here. But when we go back to the S&P, you see we've only got kind of just over halfway towards the last little peak here at 4,400. So the Dow has kind of moved above here, but on the daily chart on the Dow we have a Rambo pattern here. Rambo stands for potential reversal of an amateur breakout, RANBO. And it just means that the advance at that stage is being led by the amateurs. The average trade size is low, and they're kind of pushing the advance. Often see this around kind of holiday trading. So people who are not kind of full-time traders, see the markets are open while they're on effectively a holiday, and so they step in and decide to kind of day trade for a day or two around holidays, and that means the average trade size is super low. Sometimes the moves can be a little bit exaggerated because of that, not particularly this last Thanksgiving or holiday period, because the ranges were really kind of tight. But it just means that this move is being led by the amateurs, and we'll see that on the other charts going down. And here we've got a cross already happen on the intermediate time frame, and so at some point that's going to play into this, and we're going to have a little bit of some weakness after this. So if we go down the time frames, 135-minute chart, there are exactly 3 135-minute bars in a day session of the E-mini. You can see here they're all kind of on top of each other, but Rambo patterns. Here's the low average trade size kind of pushing up above 4,000, and we've got Rambo patterns kind of going on here. There's the last time we had Rambo patterns here, a whole family of them into that last high. the break of the low of the sequence of those Rambo patterns, the important level there. So it doesn't mean that we're going to get a bit of weakness after the Rambo patterns, directly after. Sometimes we can go a little bit further than the Rambo patterns, but the low of that sequence is what I'm kind of interested in. So the low of this kind of amateur sequence, you might plot it down here, you might just say it's kind of around here, the 4,000 level or so. Break of that would show that we're going to have a little bit of a test. And at some point we're going to come into resistance on that highest time frame here on the 135-minute chart. We've got a little end of trend on the lowest time frame, and that will sync up at some point, possibly with that resistance there. Back it down to the 45-minute chart. There we go, more Rambo patterns. Here's kind of a classic sequence. The Rambo patterns showing that the move is weak into that kind of high, but it kept on going a little bit further forward before we kind of got a proper break of that into tests, and then the professionals step in with a blue bar down here. So on this chart, we've got 3 Rambo patterns up at the highs there. We've got some end of trends, low and intermediate time frame. So we're pretty extended here, and then let's back it down to the 15-minute chart. Same thing, Rambo patterns, a whole family of Rambo patterns kind of taking us into those highs, and then they're up there, and that was the super compressed range over Thanksgiving that we saw. And here on the 15-minute chart we got our pullback to end of trend on the highest time frame. So I always talk about the end of trends rippling through the time frames, and you can see the left shoulder here, pullback to end of trend on the lowest time frame, then we come back and we put in a pullback to end of trend on the intermediate time frame, and then pullback to end of trend on the highest time frame. And I talk about this being head and shoulders moves, and this is kind of an unusual pattern. You know, head and shoulders moves aren't always shoulder, head that's above the shoulder, and then a right shoulder which is below the head. Sometimes we get a shoulder, head which is below the shoulder, up into another shoulder, and that one's actually higher than the head and the left-hand shoulder. So it's just showing that kind of maxing out. It's like where the time frames kind of take precedence: the low, the intermediate, and then finally the highest time frame. And so we've had an exhaustion buy. That was maybe getting the move going. I don't know if we're going to top out with an exhaustion pattern, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some weakness in the next couple of days where we have a little bit of a test, because we're up here at 40.40, up at these highs, and we've got Rambo patterns there. So just look out for that as a possible over this next week. So that was the Emini and the Dow on some of the minute charts. Let us talk about some of the tick charts. First of all, let's go to the tick charts and see what kind of signals we got on the 13,500 tick bar chart. So the vertical yellow lines show the week's activity. So the beginning of the week, so the end of this week, the beginning of the next week, end of the week, beginning of this next week. So you can see the amount of activity this week has been super compressed because we've seen roughly half the kind of trading activity that we would see in a normal week. That was the week before the Thanksgiving week. So last week we kind of set up with some triple patterns showing strength here with exhaustion, sell, bullish divergence. So that's triple signals when all 3 non-correlated indicators come together. So we got exhaustion, sell, bullish divergence. That's on better momentum. That's the volume-based momentum indicator. That's one. We're oversold. That's the background in red, which is better sine wave. That's the second indicator. And we're starting to break above the trailing stop with blue professional bars. So we had some blue professional bars, we trailed the stop down, and we broke above it at this point here. So that's all 3 non-correlated indicators come together. So we get an area of support. We've kind of had a nice rally this week. So we're overbought a little bit. Our trailing stop is up here, but not a whole bunch of blue professional bars at those highs. So I could see maybe some follow through on Monday or potentially Tuesday, but maybe some weakness after that. Whether that comes in on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll have to wait and see. It's kind of a classic seasonal pattern. Remember, with holidays, leading up to holidays and a day or two after, there's usually, the market usually rallies a little bit, and that's just sentiment. It's just people feel good about having some time off, and it just happens like clockwork. And so one of the seasonal patterns is to have some strength leading up to Thanksgiving, and I think it lasts a day or two after as well. But anyway, let's see how that turns out. That is the Emini. Let us talk about bonds. And the bond chart, again, this week we had triple signals kind of going off. Quite a lot of profit taking up here at the highs of last week. You can see the blue professional bars coming at the lows, and they take profit at the highs. We've come back down into this zone, and we've had triple signals kind of go off, and it's been pretty exciting activity over the last couple of days. So some pretty big moves. That again could be because of the low trading volumes kind of going through. and we can sometimes get exaggerated moves on very low volume. So but in the background, the professionals, last time they were active was here and here, maybe a little bit of profit taking there. So we've got some triple signals on bonds to continue to rally. I've been having a lot of fun with the forex charts, particularly the euro, over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Been some great kind of trading signals. Last week I was short. This week I've gone long, taken profits a couple of days ago into Thanksgiving on the euro. Actually long gold at the moment, and also long equities on kind of a longer term, more of a swing trading investment kind of point of view as well. Took that position a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, so here's the euro. We've had this week, nice little pattern set up from the lows. Not a whole bunch of blue professional bars, just the one kind of down here. We had some nice ones here. Stair-step trade on the way down, all these blue professional bars. Once I figured out what they were doing at that point there, that was a really nice trade to kind of go short. I was actually trading off the 500 tip bar chart on the euro there, and we had nice signals, went short here, and that ended up being a really good trade. Then reversed into this long trade, took profits a little bit earlier. I think I was out just above 104 and a bit, kind of up here as soon as we saw blue professional bars kind of come in. It's not changed direction, although we're overbought. We don't have triple signals, we're not over exhaustion buy at this point or anything like that. I was just very happy with my short and my long trade in euro, so kind of took profits and saw another thing setting up in gold, so I went long gold. But anyway, so at the beginning of the week we've had long euro kind of signals, and I think that's kind of played out in a lot of the other forex charts. We don't have signals on British pound, nothing's kind of signaled. Possibly we did see signals a couple of weeks ago down here. That was actually a short signal into that. That was the big break that we had, where everything changed, and 2.5 weeks ago that was the signal that we were going to have strength, and we saw that in a whole bunch of different charts. But anyway, so it's been a strong uptrend. Look at all these bars, they're all red, 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 and every time we have a little bit of a dip, blue professional bars kind of step in and so on. That's an exhaustion sell signal there, so getting rid of quite a lot of selling activity allows us to rally. So we're still strong on the pound. Aussie dollar, what are we doing here? Aussie dollar topped out. Yeah, it was interesting. The Aussie dollar's been showing a little bit of weakness. The euro's been nice and strong, but a whole bunch of blue professional bars up here, exhaustion buy, bearish divergence, and that's why we had all these signals here. Stair-step potential kind of came in here, but it never broke the low of that little sequence there. We've continued to be strong, so let's wait and see. It's not that we're going to get counter signals in the Aussie versus the euro and so on. All of those forex currencies are going to generally move together, so I wouldn't be like long the euro and short the Aussie. That wouldn't make sense. But just bear in mind that the Aussie is kind of the weakest of that group at the moment after those patterns. Japanese yen, wow, big rally again. A whole bunch of blue professional bars kind of coming into these lows. That's great. And that showed up on the higher time frames as well. Exhaustion sell, bullish divergence. We're oversold at that point. We break at the trailing stop. There we get our triple signal. Bang. We head off to the highs. A little bit of weakness here, and on that weakness, blue professional bars kind of come in. So let's see if the Japanese yen continues to strengthen there. So what have we done? We've done the forex contracts, we've done the E-mini and the bonds. Let's talk about gold and silver. This is why I'm long at the minute on gold. We had some nice signals back here a couple of weeks ago. There we go. We have to go back a fair few weeks to get that signal. That's the first one that we've had. 1640 down here, bang. Triple signals kind of go off. We tested it down here with a whole bunch of blue professional bars kind of coming at that low, and then we've just kept on advancing and advancing. Bang, bang, bang. Let me just pull it forward to the last couple of weeks. So we go. We rallied from 1640. We hit 1800 up here, and technical level like that, round number and so on, we're obviously going to get some profit taking and some weakness, and so we kind of came back a little bit to the 1750s, kind of down here. Not exactly sure what happened to create this kind of spike activity here. I wasn't following it at the time, but then as soon as we got that signal in there, kind of bullish gold and silver, and so that was a nice signal, triple signal, to kind of come in and got in on the weakness there. Just those white bars. They've not turned red yet. We need that to kind of confirm an uptrend, but at the moment I'm long gold just because I'm keen on gold and silver at the moment. Silver, yep, signals this week. So from that level 2250 up here, we did kind of top out, exhaustion buy, bearish divergence, triple signals go off, we kind of come down, but now we've had the reverse, exhaustion sell, bullish divergence kind of comes in, oversold, and so on. Nice kind of pattern there. So again, waiting for this to break into an uptrend for gold and silver to be kind of confirmed, but we've got some long signals going on there. Bitcoin, up and down and up and down. It's kind of range bound, but the ranges keep on changing. We were trading in like 18,000 to 20,000 a month ago, and now we're kind of trading in the 15,000s to 17,000s. So this last week we had signals kind of long, midweek there down at 15,600, bang, we kind of rallied into 16,800. We've had triple signals and we're underneath the trailing stop here, a little bit of a stair-step trade. So let's see if we kind of crack down through 1640 and kind of test back down into this range. Bitcoin is having trouble, but it's unsurprising given all the fundamental news that's following it around. So now let's look at commodities. Crude has been pretty weak. We had some signals last week, but they didn't catch. We really didn't have much going on here. After this one here, there weren't blue professional bars at the lows, so that wasn't kind of looking good. And even with this activity, where we're coming down to 76 with exhaustion sells and so on, there's no blue professional bars kind of down here. And the last ones that we had were up here at these highs, and we've had these kind of testing back down. So crude is weak at the moment. Natural gas, I think, though, is a little bit stronger. Yep. So last week we had triple signals into the rally at 660, and we rallied up to $8 on natural gas with that kind of breakout move. But no blue professional bars at the highs. The blue professional bars have come in on the retrace here. So at this 720 type level, they're kind of getting interest to get 50% kind of retrace on that move, and they're kind of stepping in. So let's see if that holds this week, breaks back above 750 for a continuation of the rally in natural gas. And then copper. Copper is doing very badly when you look at the kind of longer time frame charts. So that's copper and crude struggling, which shows kind of the weakness in the global economy. We had signals in copper, but they were a little bit early. We kind of kept going to these highs, almost $4. No blue professional bars at the highs there, but they just sold it down super hard. The blue professional bars kind of seemingly stepped in here, and as soon as we broke that, bang, we're in a strong kind of downtrend. But blue professional bars kind of stepped in here at 360. So let's wait and see, if it's going to test back into another kind of pattern up, testing these highs. We have more blue professional bars at under $4, taking profits and kind of selling it down. So kind of wait and see on copper, but they're pretty weak. And the ags, not been trading the ags, looking at the ags much. Corn, seemingly trying to hold around this level, but that's an exhaustion kind of pattern with blue professional bars. And we have to get above the high of that. We're going to play that range, the low to the high of that, until we've got everybody kind of psyched out, and then we'll have a proper break, whether it's above that or below that. We'll kind of have to wait and see. So corn's not great, soybeans not great. We had short signals here, bit of a phantom signal there, blue professional bars at the highs, test into those highs, kind of weak. So that's looking super weak, and let's see if that kind of turns around. Soybean kind of heads down. Wheat was trying to hold. We had a little bit of rally in wheat, but it kind of didn't turn into anything. Short signals here, kind of come down, long signals here, but look at these blue professional bars on those spikes with exhaustion buy. So they're getting out on any strength here on wheat. Bang, professionals getting out, and now we're kind of coming down. So blue professional bars kind of coming in. We've got to look for exhaustion sell. So we might be setting up this week for a long trade in wheat, but we've got to wait and see until we get reversing signals on wheat. So there we go, rip around the charts. Let's see if we get a little bit of profit taking, a little bit of weakness in the E-mini at the beginning of this week, and I think that might kind of mean that some of the forex contracts will kind of head down a little bit as well, but hopefully my gold trade will kind of continue to break higher, and we'll see where that one goes. Anyway, so there we go. Hope your trading is going well, and looking forward to a full week's trading next week.